Tony, how's life as the England coach, along with other numerous responsibilities?
Yeah, it's been great. Really enjoyed the national coach side of things. It's a bit quiet in that respect at the moment. The only thing I can do is go and watch and enjoy games at the moment and look at the form of players in that respect. And if I'm not at games, I'm watching them on DVDs now. But the other part of my role is technical director of the RFL. So
what does that involve exactly?
Yeah, plenty of things. Lots of things at the moment. I'm being really what the rugby league's after is somebody from a club situation or with a technical background to give them advice in all sorts of areas. So, whenever there's a discussion and meeting about all sorts of issues within the league, they probably have been missing somebody who was involved in the game recently, and they recognise that, and so they put somebody in there to...
Are you missing the general day-to-day involvement which you had at the domestic level?
Not yet, no. I've been that busy with my new role. The hours that I'm doing more hours than I was doing as a head coach. So, no, I've been busy. It's been interesting. There's all sorts of avenues that, and aspects of it as well, Jack, that I'd, aside from the admin side, I'm doing some club visits, and I've done a couple of club visits already, and the clubs have been excellent. But what I've also found is the communication, forms of communication between the admin and the clubs that probably break down at times, and I've been able to fill that void. And for instance, tomorrow I'm meeting with representation from the Lancashire-based clubs of players, along with Richard Lewis and Karen Morehouse, our new compliance manager. We're going over to have an informative day with them on Wednesday, and then on Thursday we've got another one with Yorkshire.
Do you watch the games now with a bit of trepidation? Do you think, oh blimey, I've got 10 potential England players playing in this game, I hope to goodness nobody gets really badly injured, or can you actually still sit back and enjoy it?
Well, I'm actually enjoying it more now, the rugby league now, than when I was coaching. I think, when you're coaching your own team, you get a little bit one-eyed, and you focus on your own players mainly, or a star player from the opposition. Whereas now I can look at everybody equally, and so no, I managed to enjoy the game a whole lot more. But I'm recognising the talent that's spread across all the teams as well, and that's important. No, I'm not too apprehensive at the moment. While I'll never want to see injury to any player, at the moment it's so far away from some of the internationals that even if they got some sort of injury, that most of them will overcome it. But so I haven't got that apprehension yet. But I'm sure as we get closer to the international games, I'll be sitting there hoping that certain individuals don't get injured. Yeah.
Who's caught your eye then so far, if indeed anybody? Any major surprises? People leaping out of the woodwork?
Well, I don't really want to go into too many individuals. What I will say is I've been really, really encouraged by the style of rugby league that we've started up with this year. I think it's been very positive. I don't think there's been a lot of negative rugby league, and I think most of the teams are chancing their arm and trying to play some rugby league and what I mean by that, putting passes together and taking some risk. And I think that's good for the game in this country. I think and if you look at the two teams who have been, I won't say dominant, but have been successful in the last few years in the Rhinos and also St Helens, they're both risk takers. They like to play entertaining rugby league. Well, they're the ones who are winning the comp. So I think some of the other teams have maybe taken a leaf out of their book. So
it's still enjoyable for you. I mean, it's a fantastic product, isn't it? I mean, particularly at the highest level in Super League, which is played with this brilliant intensity. What about below that level, Tony? Do you take an interest in what's happening in the national leagues and even right down to the grassroots?
I do. I probably don't get to as much games or see as many games as I would like in that respect, and it's difficult. It's difficult to put my time and effort into that area. Aside from, I'm once again trying to get the lines of communication going. We've had a National League coaches meeting not so long ago, about a month ago, and that's probably their first meeting together in years. We want them to have a voice, and we want other people within the game to communicate back to the administration as to what's needed within the game. So that's really important to us, the grassroots. Myself, I've managed to do a couple of junior sessions with some local under-16 teams that I've known, which is good for me. It keeps my hand in as well. But probably don't get to as many grassroots games as I would like, unless it's of international standard. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the international standard. As we gear up to the World Cup, I mean, do the butterflies start to churn? Because, does it apprehension then think, blimey, just a couple of months away? Because you've got a huge responsibility. And you mentioned it yourself, I don't know how we do it, because every season in Super League, it's always better than the previous one. And with that comes a greater expectation. And at this moment in time, with various rule changes, other changes within the sport as well, all of a sudden, if we have another Super League 13, everybody will go, oh, smashing! Just get an international job right now. Ring Tony Smith up.
Yeah, and that's what we want. I'd rather it that way than it all be looking at doom and gloom later on in the season. We want that hype. We want the belief that, it's going to be a good year for us. Does that mean we're guaranteed to win the World Cup? No. We're going to come up against a few pretty good teams in opposition to us. But I also believe that we need to build momentum. It's a big thing, self-belief. The recent tour of the Kiwis here in this country was great for us. It was a real shot in the arm. I think it gave the players a real boost in their self-confidence. I also think some selection of young players and some older players in that recent series helped everybody. Everybody thinks they're a chance of the World Cup, and they are. I want as many players to think that they can win the World Cup as possible. And that'll just bode well for come October. If I've got 1 million headaches or 100 headaches, on selections, well, that's a great thing.
So when you see the NRL maybe on television, you don't watch it for 10 minutes and look for the off button on the remote thing, I can't stand that anymore, that's frightening.
No, not at all. Almost the opposite. I quite like watching Super League much more than I do the NRL. I'm one of those people, and there's many in Australia who believe it as well, that it's got a little bit boring, the style of play. I think the way we play the game here, we should be quite proud of, and we need to nurture that and look after it, because it's an entertaining way of playing rugby league, and that's I'll come back to the styles that teams are playing at the moment. I really like the style that we're playing, and I think that's, if we're a chance of beating the Australians, that's the way we've got to play.
You mentioned two teams, quite rightly as well, Leeds Rhinos, St Helens. People talk about the Big Four, the Platinum Four, Wigan are in there, Bradford Bulls. If somebody, for instance, and I'm plucking a couple of names at random here, like a Warrington or a Hull KR get in the top 6, which might be slightly unexpected, or if Silverware goes to an unexpected domestic club, does that make your job easier, better? Does it change it in any way?
I think it's better for the sport. I think... I don't like the dominance by any one team or any two teams or any Big Four teams. And that's certainly breaking down. I understand, and I've heard the argument that those Big Four are still there. They are. They're still up around there, and they probably will for many years to come. However, there isn't any soft games for them anymore. In years gone past, when they turned up to round 6, they might have a soft game. Not anymore. Whoever they play from here on in is a tough game, whether they're at the top of the table or the bottom of the table, every week. And that's good for our players. It seasons our players, it hardens our players, and it teaches them to play under pressure, because they're under pressure every week now. And that helps for the international scene. So it's all good for me.